What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is let me move my light around. This is Real Housewives of Potomac. What are we on? Season 4? Season 4, episode 1. Sorry about that. I don't know, still kind of messed up. Anyway, we're gonna move with it. We're gonna roll with it. And so it's it's a new season, so we kind of basically catching up with everybody, seeing what's going on with everybody. We start off with Miss Giselle. Miss Giselle and Sherman they're back on speaking terms, and they are going to counseling, and her daughters like him, and so she's sort of working with it. She said, "I never forgive anybody, but I'm willing to forgive him for the sake of my churn." No, for the sake of yourself, you like him. Because if you didn't like him and you were done with him, it wouldn't matter how your children felt. You would have just had to deal with their broken heart and move on. Anyway, Karen and Giselle are still not in a really good place. So she decides she's going to make some cookies for Karen because, hoping that will open up a dialogue with them. She drives out to Karen's house. I'm just going to look. It ain't a whole lot in this episode to the end. So I'm going to fly through some of this stuff. We see where she ends up driving out to Karen's house. And she hits, then she gonna call Karen and hit Karen with the "I was in the neighborhood" conversation. We have already established that Karen neighborhood ain't nowhere near nobody. And from where Giselle lives to where Karen lives, you ain't just in her neighborhood. And, Karen's thing was, call before you come. Don't just pop up at my house. Well, I think that's pretty standard for most people. Don't just pop up at my house and then give me some bullshit about you was in the neighborhood, because you weren't. Then we see where Karen was talking to her friend Matt, the guy, the white guy from last season, that everybody was like, who is this, where he come from, kind of thing. And Karen is still grieving, and Karen is still hurt by things that went down last season. A lot of times they don't know everything that's happening until they see it back on the season. So some of the stuff, Karen didn't know some of the stuff that was being said about her and some of the things that happened until she saw it on the season. And so she really feels like they owe her an apology, and she's still really upset with Robin, Ashley, and Karen. Giselle. Have I, y'all? I hope I ain't been saying the wrong name all this time. Giselle. I've been saying Giselle. Please say I've been saying Giselle. Lord, please say I've been saying Giselle. Anyway, Giselle and Karen. So Karen, when Giselle first called and said I'm in the neighborhood, Karen said, "Look, not right now. I'm still grieving. It's a private moment. And I think she was being as polite as she could be to say, hell no, get the hell away from my house." So then Karen gonna call back. Giselle, damn it, y'all. If I've been saying Karen, I'm sorry. Giselle's gonna call back and basically say, well, my kids made these cookies, Karen, and I just can't go back with these cookies. They're gonna be really upset. Karen was like, don't be using the baby card. Don't use the daughter card. Like, that's not fair. Like, don't do that. That's not fair. But, so she said, well, you can bring them Matt or come and get them. Giselle was like, oh no, I don't have nothing to do with Matt. I don't want to give him to Matt. And of course, Matt is sitting right there and he hearing. So he's like, what I do to her? So then Giselle mad because she was like, oh, so Matt can be there, but this is supposed to be a private moment. And you grieving, but he can be there. Yeah, because she likes him. She don't like you. You should have read between the lines and what she was trying to tell you. Basically, what she was trying to tell you was, I don't really want you in my life. I don't want you around right now. And that's what she said. She said, it's just too much, and, me and Giselle have a lot to discuss, but right now ain't the time to do it. So anyway, she ends up taking the daggone cookies. And, and Karen very nicely dismissed her. She took them cookies and was like, okay, thanks. So, Giselle's in her little feelings, but, like, you don't get to do whatever you want to do to people, and then when you over it, they supposed to be over it. And she's telling her daughters, because her daughters were like, well, are you mean to Miss Giselle? And she was like, no, she just can't take my jokes. No, your jokes aren't funny. Your jokes are rude, your jokes are disrespectful, and they're not funny. Anyway, so that's them. So then we have Michael and Ashley. They trying to have a baby. That scene, I don't know about y'all, I had to fast forward through it. It was very uncomfortable for me to watch, with her trying to be sexy with Michael and putting whipped cream on and blindfolding him. That was a lot. I had to fast forward through it. It was just very uncomfortable for me to watch. Then they started showing clips of everybody finding out about Ashley about the him being accused of the sexual harassment piece. So I'm sure we're gonna dig deeper into that as the season goes on, of course. Robin and Juan, they back together. They back sleeping together. Robin don't know what to do with herself. She's happy as a hoe in the hoe house or whatever. I don't know. She's so happy she don't know what to do with herself. They showed them at a couples massage at the spa and stuff. And again, I don't really need to see all that. I'm happy for you. If you like it, I love it. That's what you've been wanting all these years. That everybody been telling you how stupid you are. If you like it, I love it. If that's what you want, boo. And she even said that. She said, look, everybody wouldn't have put up with what I put up with, but I saw the potential in our relationship. Okay. And she said, well, we got married before we were ready to get married. We got married because that was what was expected of us, and we weren't really ready to do it. And so, we made a lot of mistakes. Happy for you, Robin. That's all I got for that. Love the new hairdo though, boo. I love it. I think it looks really nice on Robin. I do. Is that everybody? Before we get to Monique. We know Monique's pregnant. She's 6 months pregnant now. And, living life. She's beautiful. She looks beautiful. Well, Monique's pretty anyway. But she's a beautiful pregnant baby. And basically the conversation they had was that her owing Giselle an apology. And, Chris was letting her know, look, you put me in a really uncomfortable situation because I know Sherman. I'm cool with Sherman. And what you did last season was out of pocket. And you really owe him a face-to-face apology, And she said she did. And she said she would. So we'll see where that goes. That's pretty much all we got with Monique. Again, this was the first episode is always a lot of just, where are they now kind of stuff. The big piece, though, is Miss Candace, okay? Candace and this wedding. The wedding's over now, but I'm ready for this wedding to be over. But, we're getting down the wedding over budget, which, of course, most weddings go over budget. But, her mother's paying for everything. So Candace is in this catch-22 where she wants to do things her way, but her mother's paying for it. And her mother has a kind of personality that if I'm paying for it, then I should have a say in what's done and what's not done. Which means it's not truly a gift. Because if you give somebody a gift and you let them do whatever it is you want, whatever they want to do with it. But it wasn't truly a gift. But neither here nor there. So we see her talking to Chris. And we find out that she has a half brother. Which was basically, her brother was basically the result of an affair. Candace has a relationship with her brother. And she invited her brother to the wedding because she wanted to. She wanted to. And Chris is like, okay, tell your mama he coming. Because Candace has not even told her mother he's coming yet. And Candace's thing is, every time in the past I've ever brought his name up, my mother goes off. Like, she don't want to hear his name. She wants to forget he exists. Because what happened was, her parents were together. Somewhere along the line, her dad had an affair, but they ended up getting married anyway, which means that at some point your mother forgave him. And to me, if you're going to forgive him, you knew he had a child, and you forgave him and you married him anyway, then you should have let it go. And the fact that you clearly didn't forgive him and you clearly didn't let it go. And that probably was part of the problem why their relationship ain't work out. Because probably every time they got into an argument, she threw the affair in his face and the baby in his face. And it sounds like later on in the conversation when we get to hear her mother, sounds like it was more than one affair. But again, if you accepted him and you said, okay, I know you have this baby coming that don't have nothing to do with me, but I'm going to marry you anyway, then that means that you were accepting the baby. That's what you know what I'm saying? And that doesn't mean you were accepting to be stepmom. You may not have accepted that role, but you were accepting the fact that he had a child. And you should have let it go. Anyway, so we see where Candace talks to Karen, and she's telling Karen about the situation. And Karen said, look, she said, what is it that you're afraid of? Because, of course, Candace is crying and everything. She said, what are you afraid of? And she's afraid that her mother's going to, I think she's afraid her mama going to cut her off. I really think that's what it boils down to. But Karen said, you are taking too much of this on yourself. This is not on you. It's not on you. You are not wrong for wanting to have a relationship with your brother. You are not wrong for inviting your brother to the wedding. And I think you're taking too much, you're taking too much of your mother's baggage onto yourself. That's your mother's baggage. It's not yours. And I think Karen gave her some really good advice. Now, her mama might not appreciate it when she see this episode, but I think Karen gave her some really good advice. So then we see we see Candace telling her mom about it. And I mean, she crying and she being real dramatic about, and she got the little tissue because she don't want to mess up her makeup, and she's doing this whole thing. And she ends up telling her mother, and as soon she didn't even get them words out, her mother said, "Oh, we're not doing that, no." And I think part of it was her mother didn't want to have a conversation on camera, but her mama didn't want to have a conversation. And her mother was like, and then her mother went off on, "Why would you do that to me?" She was like, "What am I doing to you?" She was like, "It's my wedding. What are you talking about?" But you didn't even think about how embarrassed I would be. You're embarrassing me. You're embarrassing the family. You're turning your back on the people who've been there for you, who took you to your dance practices and your recitals and your pageants. Who paid for your pageant dresses? You're hurting the people that took care of you, the people that looked out for you. I mean, that's what you're doing. Candace was like, I ain't doing none of that. I just want my brother there. That's it. I just want my brother at the wedding. I mean, that is so embarrassing. She said, "What's embarrassing? Everybody knows. Like, it's not a secret. Everybody knows he exists." Well, that he's never been a part of your life. He's never been a part of your life. Well, clearly, at some point, he became a part of her life if she wants to invite him to the wedding. And she said, how doesn't even want to have pictures of him because She doesn't even have a lot of pictures of him because she knows what her mother's reaction is going to be. Me personally, I mean, I ain't going to rehash my whole thing about her mom. I think her mom, and again, I know we're only getting what they want us to see, but I really think that her mom is very, very, I don't know if selfish is the word. She uses her weapon as a tool to get what she wants. Did I say that right? She used her money as a weapon to as a weapon to get what she wants. That's what I think of. She used her money as a weapon to get what she wants. And because Candace relies on the money, she's pretty much done it and gotten away with it. But when Candace puts her foot down and wants to assert herself, then it's an issue. And, I really feel like her mother uses that money. And I said it last year. The only way you're really going to be able to is to not need her money. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. When you get to the point where you don't need her money. And as far as this is concerned, I feel like waiting until 2 weeks before the wedding about something that how upset your mother is, or I don't even know if it's 2 weeks before the wedding. I think this might be like a couple of days before the wedding. For you not to tell her that, you sort of blindsided her. You kind of did it, especially something you knew she was going to have such a strong opinion over. You know what I'm saying? But I personally, I don't see no problem with inviting the boy to the wedding. I don't see no problem with it. Get over it. He exists. That's her brother. You can't be mad at her for wanting to have a relationship with her brother. And, and she said that. She said, "That's between you and my father. This don't have nothing to do with me. Like, your anger is with him. You're mad at him about the affair, but you can't take it out on the baby. The baby didn't have nothing to do. He didn't ask to be here. It's not his fault that he's the product of an affair. It's not on him." So anyway, y'all, that's, other than that, this episode, it wasn't really a whole lot more with the episode. I don't really think. Karen's fragrance is coming out, I don't know. I think that's pretty much all we got. That's all we got tonight. Wasn't a whole lot there, except for the situation with Candace and her mama. And I think that's going to keep evolving over the next couple of episodes. So we'll see where that goes, how deep it gets. Let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments. Peace.